Okay, Steve North. I've lived in Dyersburg for 41 years now. Uh, Raised in Crockett County. Graduated from Bells High School, where at that time we had 7 schools in the county. And then I went to Union University. I graduated from Union University with a degree in business administration, a minor in economics. And when I came out of college, uh, I first worked for Equifax Investigation Agency, which investigated workman comp fraud. And I figured out after about 6 months of that, I was going to get killed because they were sending me into some real bad neighborhoods to investigate fraud. And that was pretty dangerous at that time. And then I worked for about 10 months for the Bank of Crockett and Bells, and then Red Houston from Dyersburg and Stanley Anderson from Dyersburg hired me to manage the crops division, which was seed, chemical, and fertilizer for Tennessee Farmers Co-op. So I did that in Lauderdale County for 4 years, and then after that I was hired by Dyer Crop Science, and I worked for them for 23 years, and I worked West Tennessee and the Boot Hill of Missouri and part of Kentucky. So after that, one of my customers offered me a job working for him, which kind of fit my farming operation better. So I went to work for Nutrient and worked for 15 years. But during that time, I farmed for 35 years, and I always had some really, really good farm help. At first, I had Jerry Sanders, and I had Billy Sanders, who worked for Jeff Jones at the Highway Department, who were top-notch farmers because they'd worked on the farm their whole life.
Yeah.
And then after that, I had Randy Brock, who was one of the best. Bill Brock. I had Bill Brock, and Jerry Brock's worked for me. Chuck's helped me part-time. All the Brocks worked for me at one time or another, and that made life a lot easier. I could do my day job, and then they take care of it till I got off work, and then we'd work till late at night. But a lot of people don't quite understand farming. Farming's a great way to make a living, and but if you're ever gonna do well financially, you better get in the real estate business. So I started buying land down here in 1992 for like $1,180 an acre, and then I bought some on the Great River Road for $938 and $907, and I just kept stacking up land till I wound up with about 2,900 acres of farmland. So and you know, my reasoning for running is I want to give back to the county that's been so good to me. Dyer County's been good to me. The people of Dyer County's been good to me, and I want to give back. And in my opinion, this is not something that should be a career. And people now, some of them have been there. If they win this election, it'll be 30 years in the same spot. In my opinion of being in politics, the longer you've been there, the more likely for you to get power hungry or corruption to set in. So, and I believe in term limits. So over the long haul, I'd like to see term limits limited to 8 years. You know, we're doing it. I'm doing this not only for Dyer County, but for our children and grandchildren, and to have a better future in Dyer County. For a balanced budget is a major issue for me. When I look at their numbers, and they're bringing in $80 million and they're spending $87 million, to me that won't work long term. And last night was a good example at the meeting of the swamp is still alive and well. They have a swamp in Washington, D.C., but I promise you, we got a swamp in Dyer County too.
Oh, Lord.
And they're not willing to give up power. And why anybody thinks that no one else should be able to serve on the Budget Committee, which is the most powerful committee within our Dyer County Legislative Board, is beyond my imagination. Why would you want to sit there on that board for 20 years or even 12 years without changing anybody out whatsoever? And that's what they're doing. And here in Dyer County, we have about 5 or 6 people on the board that control everything. And then we have 5 or 6 that are followers. So it always gives them the majority. And we have about 8 people that always vote the right way, but they're always the minority.
Yeah.
And I realize that me running by myself is not going to accomplish anything. I would be like screaming in the wind, like a lot of the others that are on the board. They're not getting heard because they don't want to hear what they've got to say. They don't want new ideas. They don't want new thoughts. But we're running as a group. There's about 10 of us running in alliance with each other to try to hope that we can upset at least 6 to 8 of them. And whether we can do that or not, we'll find out if people in Dyer County really want change.
Yeah.
You know, people today, they vote for the most popular person.
Unfortunately.
Not the most competent.
Yeah.
We've got to change that. Unless we change that in Dyer County, we're going to keep getting the same results that we've got in the past. And in my opinion, the people who benefit from most of their actions are the elites of Dyersburg and Dyer County, not the common citizens. I'm not one of the Gun Old Boys Club. I was always busy working a full-time job and farming till sometimes 2 o'clock at night. And I didn't get out in politics or mix and mingle a lot. My wife is much more of a politician than I am, and she's more familiar with a lot of people. So I'm very well known in the farming community over a lot of area. I mean, all over West Tennessee and
Absolutely.
Missouri Boot Hill.
Yeah.
But in politics circles, I'm a nobody.
Yeah.
And I would like for Dyer County to give me a chance to represent them in a way that would make them proud.
Wow. Well, that's really inspiring. I mean, I really appreciate everything you laid out there. That's a bunch of good stuff, you know. I can totally relate with being too busy working to be into the politics game, but, you know, I'm drawn to it because, you know, I have 2 boys, 9 and 5, and, you know, what really caused me to become aggravated enough to start engaging in it was how we've had an issue with our water system down at Finley. Pretty much, you know, the last 10 years, it's been pretty bad, getting worse all the time. And there's really not enough attention drawn to that. And, you know, if you just look at my mother, we just built her a nice new house down there, serviced by DSCUD. And this isn't even knocking any of the employees that are there. I don't want to put them down. I don't want to put down the board of directors. I don't want to put down anybody. I'm just stating the fact. The water is in very bad shape, and when you ask commissioners or when you ask people who should have an answer for things like this, what's the plan? What are we going to do about it? Nothing. There's really not a plan. The mayor has engaged to me and told me that supposedly with the grant that they voted on and got approved last night, very grateful that happened. I'm grateful that the money's going to be, it's applied for, and it's applied for DSCUD to get it. So very thankful for that. But supposedly when we get that money, it's going to go to replacing water meters, has been my understanding of it. That sounds asinine because the water meters ain't the problem. It's the iron pipes that are 60, 70 years old. That's what's contaminating the water so bad. That's what's causing so many leaks throughout the whole system. But supposedly the latest and greatest water meters will open the door for future grants. You know, he made an announcement last night at that meeting. It got passed over pretty quick because all the other stuff that was going on. But $3 to $4 million worth of additional grants become available, according to him, with that. So, you know, I'm thankful for that. But no, I mean, I really like, you know, you seem like your intentions are pure. You seem like your heart is in the right place. You're not doing this for yourself. What do you stand to gain? You are retired. You worked really hard. You know, what you should get to do is just ride off into the sunset and enjoy the rest of your life or do whatever you want to do. But instead of doing that, you know, rightfully so, you're turning your attention to the future of your children, grandchildren, and so on. You know, it is a real toxic thing with leadership, whether it's, I'm not even going to go into county leadership, but just in general, you see this, whether it's political in the government, whether it's, any forms of leadership at all. I'm real involved in a lot of churches. I see a lot of this stuff myself. When you have someone in a position of leadership, they work really hard to get to that point. Good for them. They stay there, 8, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. What is the plan for what's next? For most people, it's hold on to the bitter end to everything that I got.
Mm-hmm.
But someone like, imagine that, you were a father who had worked really hard and that you'd been blessed and been given a bunch of stuff, and then, you'd worked really hard to get what you have. Do you want to hold on to that and not give any of it to your kids, not try to train them, not try to teach them? The idea is to leave a legacy so that you're not going to just hold on to all this until you die and leave everyone behind you left to pick up the pieces and figure out what to do. I want to train my kids so that, one day they don't have to work as hard to get the things that I got, that I could help prepare them for a greater future than what I have, and my point is, you should be raising up the next generation. That should be in everyone's mind. People who have been on the CLB board 20 years, there's some guy I know that's been on there 20 years. There's other people that have been on there longer. The idea should not be, let me stay on here from now on. It should be, let me look into the community. Let me find a up and coming young man or young woman who's working hard, doing good, who's interested in their community, that would like to make a difference. Let me engage with them, train them, bring them up, and prepare them to take over for when my time comes for me to leave. But instead of that, it's not even brought up. It's just, it is very discouraging to see people who are on there and have been in there for so long, and there is no discussion of them exiting, entering somebody new. It doesn't have to be the kind of thing where they have to leave with their head hanging down because they got beat one day in the popularity contest. Mm-hmm. They could pick somebody as a successor who would do great. To mentor them, yeah. Bring them, train them, and that way when the time comes for them to leave, this person's ready to take the reins and they know what they're doing and they're ready to hit the ground running. But when they just continue to hold on to power forever and ever and ever, it suggests that they're saying that there's not enough talent nearby to raise up. And I don't believe in that. I reject that completely. There is enough good people around here, hardworking young men and women, that would do a fantastic job. And they don't have to be 60, 70 years old. A lot of, like I'm 29, that'll be a stumbling block for some people. They'll say, oh, well, he's too young or something like that. But really what matters is that person willing to work hard? Are they diligent? Do they take care of their stuff? Are they going to represent the people of their district or the people of Dyer County? Are they going to basically just be a hard worker? Have they proven themselves thus far? And then to me, that person's got a great opportunity to make a difference. But, I really like your intentions seem pure. You're doing it for your family. I'm engaged in this stuff for my family as well. I want to see my boys live in a community where they ain't got to worry about the quality of the water, where they ain't got to worry about the quality of any of that stuff. The public amenities that are supplied to us, whether it's education, water, electric, we want to work to make sure everything is as good as possible. And
when we look at the things they focus on, we can see that DSCUD is one of the most important and crucial items that we should have been addressing a long time ago.
Yes, sir.
We have Findlay school system drinking that water. We have the Hollis Powell school system drinking that water, except it has been totally ignored.
But one thing, when you bring that up, they say, oh, they have their own filtration systems. Well, thank God the schools do. Yeah. But the houses that the kids live in when they go home don't. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they always try to say, well, the schools have a filtration system. Yeah. Well, fine and dandy, good. They get clean water when they're at school, But what about when they're at home?
Yeah.
All right, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just had to throw that in there.
But, it just seems like their priority is building a spec building somewhere, spending $5 million with just like a just finished, which I call a high dollar pole barn, because it has no concrete floor in it or nothing. And I sit back and scratch my head and try to figure out, how did you spend $5 million on that? But, and then, I hate to say this, but just giving money to people who come in and ask for it, like you're the tooth fairy, like they did with the fair board, without pulling their 501c3 tax record showing that they actually were making a profit. Why would you do that? Isn't there something we have more that deserves higher priority than some of those things,
Sure.
like the water system. And I hear there's other water systems with problems also
Oh, I'm
that
sure.
need to be addressed. And so I'm here to make a difference for everybody. I'm
That's
not
right.
here to make a difference for the elites or anybody else. I don't have any connections with elites, and I don't have anybody I dislike. I don't have anybody that's running that I dislike.
Sure.
I just think it's time for a change, and I want to keep this always civil, and it's all about business. It has nothing to do with personalities.
Yeah.
But we have got to make a change for the betterment of Dyer County, or else we're going to keep getting the same results.
I agree. So the thing, like with the SCUD, this is a problem that, you know, they should have known was coming 20 years ago. 20 years ago, they should have been like, all right, the age of our water system is at that time 40, 50 years old. We need to be budgeted in some way to have the money put back to start replacing sections of the system at a time. And so, whatever, that didn't happen. You know, we're here where we are now. And this isn't trying to put blame on anybody. I'm just stating a fact at this point. Like now, many people that are all part of the water system in Middle City and Findlay, Rich Woods, bad water, continually bad water. All right. I stated earlier, you know, the best explanation of a plan that I heard come from the mayor about the grants and all this. Well, that's fantastic. We need help. We need all the help we can get. All right. I feel like that with the public being aware of this problem more now than they have been in the past, and, you know, coming to more of the COB meetings and all this stuff, that maybe we're beginning to make steps in the right direction with the SCUD. I hope that we are. I would like to have somebody come out and tell me, you know what, it's a bad situation, but it's going to cost $20 million over 10 years or however long, and this is the plan. But right now, there really ain't a plan like that. It's all just kind of up in there, and it's iffy, but at least it seems like we're making baby steps in the right direction. So thank God for that. I'd like to see more, but be thankful for whatever you can get. My thing is, what is the next DSCUD water problem? County problem that's like DSCUD, whether it's another water district somewhere else is going to have issues, whether it's something with another public service that we have just not even thought about, not cared about, not paid attention to. Basically, the job of the local government is just kind of keep an eye on things, more or less. You know, you set up these systems, you put people in place that are going to take care of business, and you just kind of keep an eye on them. But think about, for instance, you know, the thing with DSCUD, all the things that had to go wrong to get to where we are now. It had to be problems with older management, let's say. I'm not talking about anybody now. I'm talking about years ago. I don't even know who these people are. I want no bad juju from them. I don't want them putting me down at all. You know, I'm just saying, something happened, something went wrong. We got terrible water now. Okay. There was the problem with management years ago. There was a problem with the COB not paying attention. There was a problem with the mayor's office not paying attention for years. We're talking about decades.
Well, isn't that why you elect officials to represent your district?
Yes, sir.
Shouldn't they be contacting the individual citizens and finding out what are your needs?
Yes, sir.
What can I do to help with the water system or whatever they need, or garbage or drainage or whatever?
Yes.
Man, that's not happening. That hadn't been happening.
No. Well, see, that's my point. The DSCUD thing has gotten to such a point where it is at crisis level. It's pretty freaking bad. You know, they want to act like it's not. What do you think's the next thing that's just lurking under the surface that will be the next? Because there will be something else.
Oh, yeah.
You going to tell me this is the only place where they missed it? I guarantee there will be another thing in 5 years or so.
Yeah.
It'll be just as bad as this.
Yeah.
That's what's unfortunate. That's what I really hate, and that's why I wish that. I'm not saying that people don't care. I understand that we all live busy lives. I understand that we all have stuff going on. You know, a lot of the guys that are involved in local government also have their own full-time jobs, and so I don't want to put them down like that. Not at all. But we have got to care more. We have got to pay better attention. And it feels like for so long it's just you show up, you smile, you shake hands, hee, and you pass stuff. You don't really pay close attention, and the next thing you know, you get a big problem like this.
Right. Well, that's because we're hiring the most popular person for the job, not the most competent people for the job. And another issue we got is voter turnout.
Yes.
I mean, the last election we had, it was 27.7% turnout, and that's not acceptable. And if we're going to get change, we're going to have closer to 50% turnout.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to get more people. I think most of them are registered to vote, but they just don't vote. And that's a major problem. And I've got younger kids. All of my kids went through the Dyersburg City School System or the church preschool systems at Dyersburg Baptist and all of that. But they're just not really into politics, and they think
they're so
they think their daddy's lost his mind getting in the middle of it.
Well, they're just disenchanted with it.
Yeah.
It feels like you work so hard and nothing good comes of it.
Yeah.
It feels like there's a clique that runs things. It feels like they're in control and you're on the outside. It doesn't matter how hard you work. I mean, God forbid I say something like that, but that is really why I know a lot of people like my age and folks who are outsiders, not coming from a family involved in politics or, in the who's who of Dyersburg and Dyer County. You feel like you're on the outside. You feel like you can't make a difference. And that's just, it should not be like that.
Well,
we've got to try to restore faith in voters that they don't believe that it makes a difference. They need to believe that their vote does make a difference. And maybe, that'll be one step in the right direction.
I agree 100%. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. I was working a full-time job and I was farming all night.
Sure.
And I never worked on Sundays, but I worked every Saturday and every night till sometimes 2 o'clock. I remember coon hunters coming down the Great River Road and they would shine their spotlights to who that idiot was down there on the cotton picker at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was me. But I got involved 3 years ago when I found out that they were going to raise property taxes 54 cents. So I went up there to their meeting and made a talk, and when they got through, they figured out they couldn't get the 54 cent passed, so they went to 25 cents, and it failed. Me and Eugene and all of them stood up, and we fought it, and it didn't pass either. But finally, they passed 9 cent increase on a $30 wheel tax, and so we didn't win that battle completely. But then again, this year they came back with another tax increase, and we fought it and got it stopped. But what we noticed is after we left, they went on and found the money somewhere and spent all the money on all the appropriations they had planned for that money to begin with, which showed me that they didn't need it to begin with.
Yeah.
Because last year we had a $560,000 increase in tax revenue. That means they collected more taxes than they did the year before.
Yes.
And then also they took $467,000 from the school system. So they already had about $1 million that they took already that they had available for additional costs. But then they wanted to add another $824,000 in tax money. And when we didn't get it passed, they still had the money. So we wonder, if you had the money, why did you ask for even more to begin with?
That's
But
right.
I think a lot of these people are career politicians, and they're tax and spend politicians. They never look for a way to cut. Their only idea of generating money is not cutting, it's from increasing taxes.
Yeah.
And
is there something, I want to ask you this. What do you know about, the Southern Democrat thing used to be a big thing years ago, and it's flipped to Republican. And so you got all these people, like we're fixing to have a Republican primary in May, and all these people are running as Republicans, a lot of them are, but they share the same kind of philosophies that you're talking about there as far as tax and spend. To me, they're like closeted Democrats. They're claiming to be Republicans, even though when it comes to pretty much everything that they're voting for, they're voting like Democrats. They're voting for tax increases. They're voting for bigger spending. They're voting for, like when we had the COVID shot vote during COVID, a lot of them voted for that, which, I'm not like a diehard Republican or anything like that. I mean, I'm definitely more conservative with the social things for sure.
mm-hmm.
But I understand sometimes maybe there has to be tax increases. They're inflating our currency like crazy, so the dollar's becoming less value all the time. I get that. Maybe there's reasons why we have to increase taxes sometimes. But it is kind of insane that we just continually increase. There's not a lot of conversation as to why.
Well,
I think they can make a lot more people happier if they would just say, hey, we're getting this tax increase and here's all the reasons why. And then, you know, if you can make your case and have people say, all right, maybe we do need to increase taxes, then fair enough. But
they did that.
yeah,
But here's the kind of unsettling thing about it is,
yeah. Go ahead and read that to us.
here's a page that they told why they need the tax increases.
And we'll take a picture of that and overlay it with the video.
And it was like the sheriff's department's insurance went up $15,000 on vehicle equipment and insurance. And so rather than asking for $15,000, they asked for $106,000. And then the jail's insurance went up $65,000, and instead of asking for $65,000, they asked for $260,000. So.
And did you get any explanation for that?
No, none. But I called it to their attention. I thought, whoever handed this out didn't think very long. But you know, I think they've been able to do things without anybody looking at anything. So they just, if they want to do something here that's very unwise and not even make any sense, they're able to get away with it because no one was watching them.
Yeah.
And they haven't been watched in a long time.
I would be real interested to know what our county budget compares to other counties per capita. I mean, obviously we're a little bit bigger than something like Crockett or maybe even Lauderdale or some of the surrounding counties, but per capita, you know, how do we measure up? Are we a lot higher to keep the government rolling?
I've talked to one county, and I talked to the mayor of that county and talked to the sheriff of that county, and they had 10,000 more people than us and 12,000 less budget. And I asked them, how did you do it? And it was basically consolidation of 911 services, and they run their own ambulance service. And but they invited me to come up there if I get elected to stay for a period of time to look over how they're doing things and see if we can implement it back into Dyer County to save us money on our budgets. But for some reason, there is a lot of opposition to combining the 911 services, which would save us $500,000 a year, or to use the, every ambulance call, the fire department has an EMT service. They come out, and they're usually the first ones there, and then the ambulance comes behind them from the hospital. We want to integrate our ambulance service in coordination with the fire department, and we've talked to some people in the fire department, and they would agree to that. We may have to build another building, but it would be a lot cheaper than what we're doing right now.
So it would save $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that'll pay for itself real quick. I don't know what the building would cost. But.
It's just
And you said you're getting a lot of opposition about that.
Oh yeah.
And what's that opposition look like? Like, is it just people kicking back, telling you to leave it alone, or what?
They're saying that that's not an option, that the fire department don't want to do that. But we talked to the head of the fire department, and he says he's not against it.
Oh wow.
So we can't quite figure out.
Now they're going to come for him.
Yeah. So we got a lot of ways that we could save money, and if they would be transparent about things, it would be a lot easier for us that are running to be able to understand things that we could do to implement changes. But they have not been transparent in any way whatsoever. They refuse to give you receipts for travel. If they do, they drag it out forever, and it'd be 2 years before we get them all.
Well, so transparency, like we need that in the kind of world that we live in now with the availability of technology. It doesn't take 10 minutes. You might have to prepare a while. You might have to prepare a while, but you can make a little video and say, "Hi, I'm so-and-so in charge of this, and this is how much we're, like the ambulance service or anything else. You can say, this is how much we're spending, this is why we do it this way." But you don't see any of that. Where do you go to find out local news anymore? Anything like that? You just don't find it anywhere.
Facebook.
What little bit that the county shares to its page, or it's very little.
Very little.
And then, like, you watched the video last night of the meeting, and you're going to have like poor sound quality. You're not going to see what all's happening in there, and it's just what we need is leaders who are more willing to communicate. it don't take nothing to do like what we're doing today. You know, you set up your phone, you can get live on Facebook and just say, hey, I want to talk to you today about this, and in 5-10 minutes, lay it out. I mean, these are complicated issues. I understand that, and it may take some time to lay the thing out, but nonetheless, you ought to be willing, if you're going to ask for so much money for something, to be able to explain why clearly, a way that a common man can understand it.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Well, the first meeting that they voted on the budget increase this year, I hired a videographer to come in and film it. And they asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm setting up to film the vote so we'll know how everybody voted. And they said, what are you going to do with it? And I said, well, since it's mine, I'm paying for it. I do anything I want to with it. But the main thing is to teach you a lesson in social media 101.
Yeah.
And that people do care about how you vote.
Yes.
And in voting in secrecy where we can't hear you and things like that is not really the way you're supposed to act as a public servant.
No.
And my opinion is everybody that votes should stand up, face the crowd, and tell them whether you want to vote yes or no. What they're doing right now is they're sitting at the table and they're not even facing you, and they'll mumble no.
Yeah.
And you just, I mean, maybe they hear them. We definitely can't hear them. We don't know whether they're voting for who last night, because most time you couldn't hear them. It was inaudible, and they don't want you to hear them, and that's part of the non-transparency problem we're having within the CLB board. Also, we need oversight. They'll bring in 12 different things to vote on, like expenses that occurred that month, and they'll vote on them one as one. Never ask for receipts or anything. They'll go a vote by yay or nay to approve them or not approve them. In my business world, when I worked, by George, everybody looked at every receipt. If it was a gas receipt or lunch you carried somebody home, it was scrutinized by someone.
Yep.
Here within county government, it's kind of like, do whatever you want to, and we'll look the other way, and we'll prove it. And as far as the sheriff goes, if he comes before them and asks for money, and he runs way over his budget, and they give it to him, it's not on the sheriff. It's on the CLB board. There's nothing he's doing illegal.
That's right.
He's just asking for the money, and they're without even so much as a second thought approving it. And to me, that's not the way any business should be run. In particularly an $87 million business is not supposed to be ran like that. And that's why we have so much inefficiency in government today.
How much money at a time when they do something like that? With an expenditure coming up, they don't itemize and say what it's for. How much are we talking? I'm just curious.
Well, I know 1 month, one man's travel expenses was $12,000.
Dang it.
Yeah.
He was put up nice.
And they never asked for a receipt.
Yeah.
Anything. I mean, and here's another
Hey,
issue.
They wanted it. Well, I'm going to get myself in a mess, but last night they wanted a receipt to know for a fact that DSCUD had the money for the match for the grant.
Yeah.
That was a big deal last night, which I get it. I think it was $130,000 they had to prove they had, but they wanted proof of that. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
But we've got right now county commissioners who are serving on the Tennessee County Commissioner Board for the state of Tennessee. Well, that involves a lot of travel and a lot of travel expenses that we incur in Dyer County. Also now, 2 of them have joined what they call NOCO, National Organization of County Officers. That means travel outside of Tennessee to other Washington, D.C. or wherever. I didn't vote for my commissioner to represent Tennessee, Washington, D.C., California, or anywhere else. I want him representing Dyer County.
Yes, sir.
And that's true from my opinion, from the sheriff travel and his participation in other organizations in Tennessee. I want you to represent Dyer County, not somewhere else.
What's the point of all these trips? Are they going and learning so much? I mean, what is it? What's the deal?
I mean, if somebody else is paying for it, there's people like to travel. I
Well,
like to
yeah.
travel myself, but I pay for my own travel. And if I travel with the CLB board, nobody's going to reimburse me. I'll reimburse myself.
There you go.
I'll pay myself. I don't want any reimbursement.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because I love Dyer County and I love the people of Dyer County.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not
I'm
doing
sure
it.
if you asked them, they wouldn't say, "Well, I'm seeing the world on my county taxpayer's dime." You
Yeah,
know, they ain't
well,
gonna say that, but
well, no, and
they got to be like going to conferences or something, right? At least. I mean, I'm
yeah,
not for it.
well,
I don't see the point. And we
well,
got a major.
I mean, I'm sure they have a lot of meetings you could go to, but I mean, educational meetings are necessary.
Sure.
But that probably only occurs one time a year, and some of them probably don't need to go because they don't participate in other budgets or any. All they do is yes or no and don't even read the budget. So
Yeah.
you know, it's just I'm against a lot of traveling for our county employees, especially if we pay for it. If you want to travel on your own,
Absolutely.
pay for it yourself.
Yeah, if you want to do it on your own, but it is kind of crazy. You know, we got plenty of issues right here. You know.
Yeah,
and then if you're going to spend a lot of money to go to conferences and learn all about this stuff, we ought to not have a bad drug problem. We ought to not have a bad crime problem. We ought to be having things going perfectly smooth in the COB if you're going to county officers meetings or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. I don't see the point in it myself. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate for them a little bit. I don't think that they should be going either, but you know, I don't know. I try to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. But you know, we've got a lot of good commissioners. I don't want to.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to throw them all into one bucket because that's certainly not true. We have at least 8 or 9 that are there for the right reasons, and they're doing a good job for the county. The only problem is they're the minority, and they never win. I mean, they fought hard last night to put new people on the budget committee. They failed. They can't get it done because we have a. I hate to say this word, but we have a small mafia that controls the CLB board.
Oh.
And
tell me, what do you think the deal was with 3 people not showing up last night? You know, it's kind of a big deal.
Well, I can understand one of them was at Daytona 500, and if he had tickets for that, I can understand why he wouldn't want to forego his tickets to the Daytona 500.
So that's one.
Yeah. And then one of them they said was sick, and the other one it was his birthday.
Oh.
So
okay, well I guess stuff does happen, but
yeah,
you know, at the same time you do get voted into that position, you need to be there.
Yeah, I would agree, and you know sometimes when people don't want to vote, they don't show up.
Yes.
We found that out over the years. If it's a tough vote, there's some of them that just will not show up because they don't want on the record as being a yes to increase taxes, or yes to vote for mandatory vaccine shots, things like that. And it could have been last night, some of them didn't want to show up intentionally because of something else, but I don't know that. I can't read their minds of what they're thinking. So.
Sure.
But I would definitely believe you should, when we look at the numbers of the number of meetings some of them have missed, some of them we only have, you know, maybe 20 meetings a year, and some of them miss 13 of them.
Dang. Yeah.
So
are you serious?
Oh no, a lot, 13, 12.
No.
We got all the numbers. Yeah, a lot of them just rarely come.
Man, I wouldn't want to call them out where they might see this, but you definitely got to tell me who that is when this is over, because that's nuts. I mean, someone should run against them.
Yeah, well, you'd be.
It's like, what are you going to run for? I'm going to show up.
yeah.
You know,
a lot of them don't show up, and I can understand. One of them's a farmer, and I understand that when he's farming wide open, he ain't got time to quit planting cotton or corn or beans.
Oh yeah.
Come to the meeting, and he's not running again. And great guy, brilliant, smart guy too. And but we need people that are able to attend the meetings. If you're not going to be able to attend the meeting, don't run.
That's right. If you got life happens. If you have somebody get sick, I totally get that. You know, you can't help whatever goes on with that, but still, you show up for your job, you show up for everything else. You know, I just don't understand. That's kind of a non-excusable thing to me.
Yeah.
But whatever. I don't know. I guess people keep voting for them. So.
Yeah. Well, you know, and the final thing I got to say is number one, we got to have turnout to win. We've got to have more than one person to change hands, it's got to be
Enough
6
to
to
make a
8 of
difference.
them to change hands, and hopefully we can keep the 8 good ones that are in there that vote right, and we can add at least 6 more to them to get a majority. Of course, probably it looks like to me there's people running against just about everybody. There's someone running against everybody except Dobb Johnson, and the reason they're not running against Dobb is because he's always done the right thing, and Dobb is actually a genius with numbers. He's really smart with numbers, and he works for First Citizens, and he is one of their numbers guys, so he's very sharp, and I'm glad he's there. And he may be the only one that's not opposed. There's just very few that's not opposed this time. Someone's running against, I think, every one of them except for Dobb. And so we just got to have 6 to 8 people change hands. And
so we need to get voter turnout way up.
My personal opinion is I've got to take registration forms with me, and as I go around and meet people, and if they're not registered, try to get them to register to vote and turn it in.
I have a QR code. It's what I got from the election commission.
Okay.
I got a copy of that. I can get you one. You can go out there and get it, but that's what you need to do. And when the time comes, I'm gonna put them on my flyers. And it wouldn't be a bad idea unless you got a bunch of made already to put it on there too. Takes you right to the state website. All you have to have is your driver's license number if you don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it's just your name, address. It don't take 2 minutes to do, and then they're registered. So that'd be a cool option too. I've been doing that a lot. I've had a bunch of people when I was going around getting them to sign my petition. If they aren't registered, I'm registering them right then.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've had a bunch of people tell me I haven't voted, in a long time, but I'm gonna get out and vote for you. So that's kind of encouraging, Well, I imagine you'll have the same thing come up,
Yeah, we have. I have, and one of the things that happens is as you're going around to get signatures, it's an hour conversation because people are more interested in this election than they've been in a long time.
Yes, sir.
Because they've realized that, hey, we've been asleep at the wheel, and we've let the fox in the hen house. And,
I saw that speech you gave. I forget, it wasn't very long. They wouldn't let y'all talk long at the budget vote last year, right?
3 minutes is all they let you talk.
Man, you said the fox is in the hen house. I said, oh man.
Yeah, well, I don't think they've ever had anybody stand up and look them in the eye and tell them that this is not the way business is supposed to be ran. And one thing that I talked about that night was the toxicity in there. They didn't want the mayor to win. He was not their pick. And when he got in there, and I've got records of this, the newspaper covered it. One of his first meetings, he talked about conflicts of interest and how he was going to get to the bottom of it.
Oh God!
And by George, after that, you could see them filing them knives. they were coming after him, and they did. And they've been after him ever since. And no one's perfect, but they haven't given David much of a chance to get anything done because it's always a battle between who's going to get credit for it. If it's a grant, I want credit for it, not you. What happens in county government when no one cares who gets the credit, that's when the county becomes a success.
That's right.
And I don't care who gets the credit. I don't care if it's the mayor. I don't care if it's anyone gets the credit as long as the job gets done for the county. And that's the attitude we gotta have. And if you take that office, that's the attitude every one of them should have. And I'm here to tell you, that's not the case in a lot of places.
Well, I'll tell you another thing I hear a lot of too whenever you raise concerns to people who are involved in local government. One of the first things out of somebody's mouth will be, well, that ain't our job. That ain't our responsibility. Mm-hmm. Well, who gives a crap? I do a bunch of stuff. It ain't my job. It ain't my responsibility because it's right.
Right.
Because it's right. Because you need to try to move this thing in the right direction, move the needle in the right direction. But instead, everyone wants to kick, when it's bad, they want to kick the blame. Kick all the blame. They want none of the responsibility for that. But when a grant comes out, they want all they want to take the credit for it then. They want the attaboys, they want the pats on the back. They want to make sure that everyone hears that we all got it. Never mind that maybe just 1 or 2 or 3 of them are working really hard to get it done. I'm all for giving credit where credit's due. if it's one or two people that have been working really hard, they deserve that credit. People who have been asleep at the wheel and haven't cared and just kind of eased along, they show up to the meetings and they're not doing a lot. It aggravates me to hear them talk about how they want all the credit for it, which I get it. We're a team. But why does that even come up? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we all ought to be working to make this world a better place. You know, I'm really religious. I don't push my religion on nobody in so much that I don't require everyone to believe just like me. But I tell you, the Lord has made a difference in my life. Got strong faith in God. I know that He has changed the course and the direction of my life from one direction that was going down to another, and He has blessed me abundantly. I put myself up beside anybody because God has blessed me so much that I think I'm second to none in some ways. God has really, really blessed me. And so if He's blessed me enough to be able to stand on my own 2 feet, which many of these guys who are involved in local government, they're blessed as well. They're prosperous. The Lord's taking care of them. Whether or not they give Him the glory for it, that's a different question. But if God has blessed us, then it's better to give than to receive. You got to turn around and give back to your community and really be interested in doing good. I think some people are just interested in hanging out, or doing nothing. And woe unto them that are at ease in Zion, them that just want to kick back and relax. And one thing about it is we need hard workers in government who are focused on doing good for their community. And it doesn't matter who gets the credit. It doesn't matter whose responsibility it is to do something, but that they are just going to work hard for their people. A lot of folks can't even work hard for themselves.
Yeah, I've never done anything, bought any farm or anything else I had prayed about.
Yes, sir.
And if I needed it, I was able to buy it. If I wasn't, it worked out best that I didn't do that, because I don't know what's best for me, but God does.
There you go.
I still go to the same church. I would in a country church, small country church in Crockett County that I went to when I was born. And I've been going there. My mother's 91, and I go sit with my mother on Sunday mornings with her.
That's
and
awesome.
It's important to her to be at church and for me to be there with her. So, I would, would it politically be better for me to join a church that's got 600 members here and try to beg? Yeah, it would, but I don't believe religion and church should be mixed together.
This is what you run into. You have these politicians that go around to churches, and they are just, there's a verse in the Bible where it says that wolves in sheep's clothing will make merchandise of the saints. That is the words that it uses, make merchandise of you. They're coming around because they want you vote. They really don't care. I mean, if they cared, they'd be there all the time. If they cared, you'd be seeing them, hearing from them. But what do? They just kind of come around easy, and that's pitiful, man. I think that's not good. I'm real involved in my church. Me and my wife, I'm the assistant pastor at our church. I stand in for our pastor. He's 87 years old, Brother Calvin Smith. So when he don't feel like it, I stand in.
Yeah.
I'm the Sunday school teacher on Sunday mornings for the adult Sunday school class. Me and my wife are over the youth group on Wednesday night. We have about 20 kids that come to that. So I'm not able to go around and visit other churches like that. I wish that I could. I do go to special events when I'm able to. Honestly, here lately, I ain't been able to go to a lot. But it just makes me sick to think somebody would just go around to, these people are genuine. The church members are genuine, sincere. They're sold out to God. A lot of them are. And then to know some politicians are going to slide in there and give them a little smile and pat on the back and ask for their vote. Look, I understand a politician's got to get support, but the way they go about doing it in churches just feels inappropriate to me.
Yeah, it is to me too, and it's happening right now.
Yes.
In this election, it's been a big deal.
Yes, sir.
And I just don't believe that.
Well, I tell you this: even if they get their support, I think God will get them for it. I hate to be like that, but man, I'm gonna tell you don't want to mess around with God's people.
No,
I wouldn't want to do that.
I wouldn't either.
Just using them for your gain, that's a bad deal.
Well, and in closing, all I can say is I'm gonna pray that this is what God wants from me, and if it's not, I'll be happy whether I win or whether I lose. And I just want what's right. I want to help Dyer County, but if it's not God's will,
Yes, sir.
I'm very happy with it.
Well, I'm the same way, and even if we lose, we're still going to be involved and still be working on stuff. I know.
I'm gonna support whoever is in there as long as I can. But I don't think right now the people that are in there are doing it for the right reasons. I hadn't figured out what it is. That's the question I got to ask. What's going on that I don't know about? But there got to be something more. Because
it feels like
my idea of serving is serve 4 years, find me a mentor to someone to take my place, and me get out of the way. But I want to fix everything I can fix in those 4 years.
Yes.
And then I hope I can get someone to take my place.
Yes.
That's got the same ideas that the citizens of Dyer County have. But most of these people never even think about what their constituency wants. It's all about what's best for them politically.
Yes. That's so unfortunate. You know, I don't.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, people keep voting them back in, so we just got to work and pray that this election will make a difference. But yeah, I'm with you. We need to get voter turnout up. You know, I even thought about mail-in ballots. You know, I mean, it worked for Joe Biden. So it might be worth a shot. You know,
he got 80 million, never left the basement.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So I don't know. I mean, I've thought about everything. You know, if that's, and the bad thing about that is too. I understand if somebody's homebound, if somebody's not able to get out or something like that, okay, maybe they do need a mail-in ballot. But if you think that will not be hijacked for someone to use for their own gain, I believe it was in that election, you know, for sure.
It definitely was.
So, but just saying that to say this, if it's been used in the past, somebody will use it again, you know, and it may not be a bad idea for people to look into doing mail-in ballots for folks that may not be able to get out on election day, or won't be able to, or will have to work or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I'm at the point where I'm exploring all alternatives to just getting votes in, because we do need voter turnout. 27% is bad.
Yeah.
That's really bad. You know, I think we have 2,300 registered voters in my district. 23% of that, I don't even know what that is, 400, 500, 600, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm terrible at math. Somebody's gonna check this and be like, this guy's stupid. we don't need him to be in charge of nothing. But no, it's, you know, that's not good. 27% is not good at all. So
I have like 3,700 and something registered voters in my district.
Yeah.
And the ones that's not registered, it's not on my list, because I know some people that I look for their names on there and found out they don't vote.
Yeah.
Registered. I think if you don't vote within the last 4 years, that they may take you off the
I'm not sure.
list.
Yeah.
I thought I read that somewhere, that if you don't vote in 4 years, they take you off the list or something.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing I want to ask you about before I turn you loose, which is something that I did not know. You know, I've known you since I've been growing up. I remember you when I was a kid at Everest Lake Grocery. You'd come in and your hair was dark then, and you had your crew and raising cotton, and you know, a lot of good memories down there. I had a lot of fun going down there eating with Papa at Everest Lake Grocery, seeing all the guys down there that farmed and coming in. But one thing I didn't know, man, and Eugene was telling me this because he was a January 6th. He said you were too, and I said no. So I gotta hear it, because I see what the news says. I remember where I was January 6th. I was working at the steel mill. I'd been working on something that was broke down. I came into the break room. I forget what time of day it was, but I go in going to use the bathroom. This guy's walking out of the bathroom as I'm walking in. He goes, "Oh yeah, they're gonna start shooting these people now." He was cussing. Yeah. And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "All these people at the Capitol, they're rioting and blah blah blah." Like he was on the other side of where I stand, and he was like so excited that I guess that Trump supporters were about to get their tail kicked or something, and I was just shocked. I was like, that don't even sound right, you know? Because I had been kind of watching the news that morning and seeing what was going on, and it all seemed real patriotic. I mean, Trump, obviously, he's got a real bombastic way of talking, you know?
Yeah.
But it would just have shocked me to see that it was an actual riot. And then the news goes on to portray it that way, and it's just a god-awful mess, you know, because I didn't even see it that way.
Yeah.
I really didn't. Yeah. The whole thing was strange, fishy, and then come to find out, they said FBI agents were dressed as common people amongst the crowd. So the whole thing is just wild. But I want to hear somebody who was there.
Let me tell you, on the day before, I decided that I was going to go by myself. Well, one of my farmer friends from Lake County called me and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm fixing to get ready to go to the January 6th meeting in Washington, D.C. And he said, "Do you care if I ride with you?" I said, "No, I'd be glad for you too." So I drove up there straight, 13-hour drive up there, checked into the hotel. Next morning we get up and a lot of Black Lives Matter people around the hotel.
Sure.
So we're going to breakfast and all, and we get on the subway and we go down to the Capitol building where he's going to speak, and we're in front of the Washington Monument, and it's so crowded that you have to just walk like this to get through. And finally we got beside a tree to keep from getting run over because there were so many people there.
Wow.
When I filmed them, I had to get in a tree and film around. There was people as far as you can see in every direction.
Wow.
And I could never, and Donald Trump was speaking, everybody that spoke that day was so far from me that we couldn't see them with our eyes. We had to watch them on the Jumbotron.
How many people you think were there? Eugene thought 1 million.
I think it was 1 million or more.
Holy
They
smokes.
lied and said it was like 20,000, but it had to be 1 million. I've got video on my phone of it. And when you turn and look, there's just a sea of people forever. Well, finally Trump came to the mic to speak, and we watched him on the Jumbotron, and he spoke for maybe an hour and 30 minutes, but at 2:30, everybody started leaving and going toward the Capitol building. And I said, that's rude. Told my guy who was with me, I said, let's stay until he gets through speaking. That would be the only correct thing to do. So we did, and then we'll head toward the Capitol building. So we got through at 3 and we started heading that way. And I get within about 200 yards of the Capitol building, and I turn around and look for my friend, and he's not back there because I've lost him in the crowd. So I go back, and he's leaning up against the sign. He said, my back's killing me. We've been standing up since 7 o'clock.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it was already about 3:15 by then. And I said, what do you want to do? He said, I can't go anymore. He said, you're going to have to carry me back to the hotel room. So I helped him get back to the hotel room, and I was going to go back. And when I started back, the National Guard or police or a lot of law enforcement was coming in by swarms, and I didn't go back. I went back to the hotel room and told him, let's pack up and leave.
Yeah.
And probably if his back hadn't got in a whack, I would have been in the Capitol building, because I think they opened up the door and just let you in. I'm sure I would have went in. Did I think they stole the election? I was 100% sure the election was stolen.
Yeah.
And but what caused all the agitation, basically, from what I could tell, was first they shot Ashley Babbitt through a window when she was unarmed.
Yeah, I saw that.
So they killed the guy in Minnesota who has a weapon and is fighting with police, and that's a tragedy. Shooting Ashley Babbitt meant nothing to him. It was just like shooting a dog.
Oh, it was terrible.
And then they stomped a woman to death out in the crowd. I can't think, Rosalie something from, I can't remember her name, but they killed her out there. It incited the crowd. And then they opened the doors and opened the gates and told people to come in, which was a trap.
Yeah.
And I've heard since that the guy that built the door that opened up into the Capitol building said that the only way to enter that door from the outside would be with C4 explosives. And he said
so somebody opened it.
Somebody had to open it from the inside because it had pins in it where it could not be penetrated unless it was opened from the inside, or C4 explosives.
Wow.
So it was completely a setup, and they tortured those people in prison without due process.
Oh, yeah.
And really without even charging them.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of corruption we were headed down before Trump was able to take back control again on January the 20th, 2025.
That whole year was so wild because they were burning cities all summer long while the nation's in lockdown. People are out protesting. You know, they're telling us to wear masks and stay 6 feet apart. And people are out here protesting violence, vandalism. It was wild. And then, you know, I understand people want to protest. I understand people being upset. I don't think you should ever damage property.
No.
I don't think you should ever steal anything. Absolutely not. It's
not
unjustifiable. And they acted like it was. Well, I understand people not being happy, but that's not the way to do it. And then the whole thing that happened at January 6th, and they just kept on wanting to call it a riot. And it just did not appear like that to me at all. And, you know, I got people I know who are, you know, left of center, who would think that it was a riot or that it was not good and all this. And, they talk about people, being prosecuted who were involved in that. You're talking about people who were tortured in prison, having to serve jail time or prison sentence. That is wild to me. Why did they do that? That's not good.
Well,
It wasn't good that they indicted Trump and put him through. Like the prosecution of your political enemies is a awful precedent, and it's something that they have done. And I don't know if they don't care about the consequences. Maybe this is what somebody wanted. I don't freaking know. But like common everyday people like us need to understand that it's not okay to, one, protest violently or steal stuff in protest. That we can't have that. And then also that if somebody wants to protest, it doesn't even matter what they're protesting for. You shouldn't throw the idea that you are going to prosecute people who believe differently than you. That's bad. That's so bad, and it doesn't get talked about enough.
Well, it happened during the Biden administration.
Yes.
And if Trump is not voted in this next time and a Democrat gets it, that same thing will happen again.
I know.
Except it may be more bold. I mean, just raiding Mar-a-Lago was a bold act of something that when Biden had files in his Corvette
I know what you're
out in
talking
the
about.
garage, and then Obama had them filed in places in Chicago and everywhere else.
And then they finally got him on felony charges where it was what would have been a misdemeanor if it was even true. They changed around what the crime meant to be able to call him a felon. And just the whole thing to me is, why are we even doing this? Do we want peace or do we want violence? I don't want violence. I want peace. I want my kids to grow up in a safe country.
Right.
I want my kids to grow up in a country where you can vehemently disagree with people and still know that they're your neighbor and know that they're, maybe even your friend or whatever, and that you got to get along with each other at the end of the day. And we have lost that somewhere along the line.
One of the things that concerns me right now with the immigration is we let so many enemies of our country in through across the border that have nothing but destruction on their mind for us as U.S. citizens. And, how many Muslims do we have in this country right now? Maybe 10, 20 million. We don't know. And, we need to be careful about, we have a pathway to citizenship, and we've had it for 200 years, plus years. We should continue with that. You shouldn't just be able to walk across the border and say you're a citizen.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If we are going to criticize the outside world, we need to set our own house in order first. It starts right here, being able to make a difference, and locally, So it's been a real pleasure having you, man. And I don't know if I can think of anything else that we can go over, but I appreciate you taking time to talk about all this with me, and January 6th, too, for that matter. I wanted to ask, did they try to prosecute you? Did anything come of that at all? Or I'm just curious.
No, I didn't. I told you I only got within 200 yards.
Oh, so you were 200 yards
200 yards
breaking the law.
I'm not saying I wouldn't. If Steve back hadn't hurt, I'd been in there.
Ooh.
But his back started hurting him, and he said he couldn't go anymore. So we had to catch the subway back. And of course, we had all that Trump stuff on, hats and flags and all that.
Yeah.
And we get on the subway. You can imagine got people looking at us. Yeah, we wasn't real popular around that day in Washington, D.C.
Well, I think good things are ahead of us, and thanks again for coming on. Do you want to tell us what district that you're running for, what position? If you don't know and you've been watching Mr. Steve North, he's running to be commissioner in Dyer County. So tell us where you're going to be running for.
District J, position 2, and that basically serves Upper Finley Road and all of the farms area, Peel Hill, and all the way down to Tucker Street in town. And then it goes back over to behind McDonald's and down Pennell Lane and back around to Jenkinsville Road. So there's like 3,700 registered voters in my district. It's probably the largest district in Dyersburg.
Okay. Well,
and includes all the apartments behind the old movie theater.
Oh, wow.
Post house apartment.
Yeah.
So it covers a big area, and I'm gonna try to get around and see as many people as I can, and share my thoughts on why I want the changes. First of all, and why I think we should change.
That's right.
But the most important thing is I want everybody to get out and vote.
Yes, sir. The election May 9th.
May the 5th.
May the 5th.
May the 5th will be the Republican primary, and in my case, there's 3 people running as Republicans, and the one that moves forward will be in the August 6th election, which should be unopposed, because so far no one's picked up a petition to run as an independent in my district.
Okay, well, there you have it. We need to get out. We need to vote. Thank the world and Mr. Steve. I really like where his heart's at. I really like where your heart's at. I think you're pure in your intentions, and I admire that. And it's not saying that other guys aren't. It's just, I know you. We got a history together, and you have my respect. And if I lived in that district, you'd have my vote. But
I feel the same here, and thought a lot of your granddaddy, and I'm not lying to you. He sure thought a lot of you.
Oh man, well that
You
means
was with
a lot.
him everywhere he went.
Hey, I loved him, and
Yeah.
I miss him every day. And with people watching this, they don't know, but this is being shot in his house.
Yeah.
Around his kitchen table. I got a lot of good memories down here. I got a lot of good memories at Chick. If it hadn't been for him, if it hadn't been for, I called him my papa. If it hadn't been for my papa and my mama, I don't know where I'd be, and I just think the world of them, and they made a difference for me. And, this is about a legacy and a heritage coming from Dyer County. I'm family born and raised, and Dyer County born and raised. I've been here all my life. Unless something changes in the foreseeable future, I'm going to die here, and I've got peace with that, and I just want to work hard and do everything I can to make this a better place.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and
Yes, sir.
And appreciate the conversation we've had.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and we're going to have you back on again.